Device not connected. Oh, crap.
Default. You want, yeah.
This, I want the actual.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Now we got audio. Sorry about that.
Wow. Sorry about that.
Pretend it never happened.
We're just
That's
gonna
what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Old people in technology, I guess. We are really proving that. All right, so we're gonna retry this again. Thank you for catching that, Brandon.
You saw it, but you didn't get to hear it, and half of it is hearing it. So here we go again.
We are going to start from the beginning because this, to me, for real, was the epitome of a cool theme that fell flat when you got to the show. Oh my goodness. You're gonna think we like this cartoon.
Well, I would have picked up on it because I normally, like when I'm in mod mode, I always make sure your audio is coming through, but I was working on getting the slow-mo to unactivate.
Yeah, and I forgot when I unhooked the microphone yesterday, and that's yeah. Now, as we were saying, this cartoon has such a cool premise.
Yeah. And I'm hoping they're not gonna like just use the name and not do like anything. Like if there is not a half man, half cowboy in this reboot of the show, I'm just gonna hate it.
Yeah.
That's
he was the reason why I wanted to watch this cartoon when I was younger, and it was disappointing.
And if there's not a half mechanical bird and monkey man,
yeah,
yeah.
I just don't want whatever that guy was. Now the thing was, and we were bringing this up because they decided to reboot this series, and we've been seeing a lot of our series rebooted, whether it's live action movies like the Smurfs or Scooby-Doo, or She-Ra and Thundercats, which I've seen Thundercats is getting they tried to do a whole Teen Titans thing with them, and I'm hoping Silverhawk's not like that. Even though the show could use a campy reboot too, I think they really just need to get them away from any kind of Thundercats clone and make them their own characters. Because what I would do is I would sit and I would listen to the theme song, and then I would change the channel because I knew the cartoon was crappy.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Is they have a show that didn't do well because it copied another show that did well back in the 80s, and now they have an opportunity to actually make that show better just by rebuild it ground up, make it its completely own thing. Don't try to clone it, just copy the premise of it and make it like it would go really well, because you've seen Iron Man in the MCU, so now you can kind of do that with a group of people, only instead of it being a suit, it's their actual bodies.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like they have an opportunity to correct a mistake they made. Are they going to, or are they going to just be like, we're going to put the name Silverhawks on this, but nothing else?
They're going to try to capitalize on nostalgia, and I'm telling you right now, I remember that show because, like most guys and girls getting home from school, we had this prime lineup in the afternoon of cartoons. And anytime Silverhawks came on, because they sandwiched it between Voltron and Thundercats for me, I knew I had 30 minutes of TV that I wasn't going to watch. Because it was hard to watch. It was very unwatchable. And I know that for me, a lot of old cartoons that I love are hard to sit through now that I'm older and I'm not a young kid. And you're like, this didn't make sense. Like, I love Gem. Most of you know that. At the end of my Bonnet Chronicles, Axiom will play the Gem theme because
I wait for it.
Favorite. But
I wait for a lull.
When you
and
think...
I sit poised to click on that channel reward, and I wait like a sniper for the perfect shot.
When you think about Gem's story, you're a mess. When you think about Gem's storyline, though, it don't make sense. Homegirl could have just been an orphan that happened to be a model, but she had to be the daughter of a multimillionaire with this machine that gave her powers, and then she runs an orphanage.
Which, let me poke the first hole in that.
Yeah.
If you're the daughter of a millionaire, you're not an orphan. I mean, you may not know who your father is, but the premise of that show was like, that doesn't add up.
It didn't.
It's like, oh, so you know who your dad is, and you have access to his money. So you were an orphan, but then you met your parents.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of bad on my part, because I mean, you're still an orphan if you grew up an orphan. So
I just feel like it was too much. They put all the stuff they could to try to make her sympathetic, and half the time I didn't even like the lead character in the story. I loved the side characters, and I loved the misfits because it felt like they had more development than Jen.
Right.
And there were plenty of times where I was like, why is Rio putting up with her? She's whiny, she's insecure half the time, and she didn't make sense. And I was like, I would have appreciated it more if she just ran her orphanage.
Yeah. No, I could see if it would have been like she was an orphan that wanted to sing, and she actually got a backer to finance her career.
Yeah.
And that was her father, but she didn't know about it. That would make more sense.
That was
not what you got.
No.
You got her actually, I don't remember much of the show, but I imagine that you got her actually talking to her dad at some point.
Oh, a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I tried rewatching the series, and the problem is, it was so 80s, and you know that they had the idea of, we want to sell these toys, especially the little girls, and the music was fun. I still love the music in Gem. But the series needs a reboot if they're ever going to really bring it back. And the characters need to make a lot more sense. Back then, we could get away. Like, I watched the Beverly Hills Teens back in the day, too. That cartoon made absolutely no sense. They were every stereotypical teen.
You got them now trying to make cartoons out of, they're trying to make full-length feature films out of cartoons that were like the Hair Bear Bunch.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Mm-mm.
You can't make a 2 to 3 hour feature film off of something that was like a 5 to 7 minute cartoon.
And was a Yogi Bear clone. And I love you. We watched the commercial the other day. Every once in a while, we watch commercials. We got regular TV, y'all. We're older. And
now that you have a choice, you actually like watching commercials now.
No,
it's
not
kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I need something to break up the streaming thing of just watching episode 1, 2, 3, 10, 15. I need a little break here. Hey, I got it. Let's watch a commercial.
And I think it's a Geico commercial with Yogi Bear and
Boo Boo. It's a Geico commercial with.
And as much as I can't stand Geico Insurance, they've been on point with some of these commercials, bringing in old characters. And the Yogi and Boo Boo one made me laugh because a lot of us grew up with that, with the Laugh Olympics, with just Yogi Bear, period. Christmas, one of the staples was it Christmas Time Yogi, or what did they call it special?
I can't remember what they call it special.
I just remember the little boy and
now that you brought up Laugh Olympics, though, I would love to see a video game on the Laugh Olympics, kind of like Mario Kart.
That would be amazing.
Where you have to play like Scooby-Doo or Snidely Whiplash, and you're sabotaging people.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much they could do with these cartoons, but I just feel like we're going to hit a whole bunch of reboot things. And with anime especially, they've been hit or miss. I love the Sailor Moon Crystal reboot. I was hoping that we would get the entire series, but it keeps hitting the curse of they get 2 or 3 good seasons out, and then it hits a wall. And now Netflix supposedly has a movie that's going to condense all the rest of the story, and I'm not happy about that. And the reason why is because I feel like Stars just keeps getting the shaft. It got shaft in the original thing because we didn't get released here in North America normally. I think we got a DVD release way after the fact and the Blu-ray release after that, but we never got to see Stars the way Naoko Taguchi intended for it to be. And now we had Crystal, which I thought we were going to get the full-fledged series, all 5 seasons, and We're not getting that. We're getting another movie that's going to condense a lot of storyline.
2 movies.
Yeah, but that's still a lot of storylines for 2 movies.
Condense what was probably 2 seasons worth of content down to like probably the bare essentials and make 2 feature films out of it.
Yeah. They could have had at least 6 or 7 episodes for 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
Fully explain the details of that saga, because you've got the Dead Moon saga, which I wasn't a big fan of the Dead Moon saga in either the manga or the animated version of it. They could have cut half of it out, but I did like the whole Pegasus and Chibi Moon story. And then Stars was where everything just came. Everybody grew. You've seen life or death situations, which wasn't done a lot of times in magical girl animes. And you've seen where Sailor Moon went from I'm a young girl and I'm scared to this is my world and I need to save it, especially reading it. After reading the books, it was hard for me to watch the original animated version of it because she wasn't finished with the story, so they changed a lot of the storyline. So what I got excited about Crystal getting the green light was we were finally going to see that epic battle between her and Galaxia. We were going to see how devastating Galaxia was and how much Sailor Moon grew as a warrior. And once again, I don't know the interplay of all the dynamics. I just know a lot of writers fall into the trap of, especially if their work's popular, they don't get a lot to say in how their work's presented. And I feel like she had a vision for her story and she executed it well in the manga, and it didn't get that translation into the anime until Crystal, and then she didn't even get to finish it again. And as somebody who's watched this happen over and over again, like with Full Metal Alchemist, we had the original, which was fine, but it was always lacking. And then we got Brotherhood, which gave us everything.
Oh, yeah.
Brotherhood is just...
I know there's a lot of people that are just like, I like Full Metal Alchemist. Brotherhood fits so much better story-wise for me.
Yeah.
That I absolutely loved it. And there's no difference in it until, like, I think the end of season 1. It's like the exact same story. But then they introduced just a slew of characters that I was like, where were you guys when the first time this went through? And the story just wraps up so much better.
Because it fits the exact formula that the manga... Yeah. And I know people are like, well, if you read the manga, why would you want to see the anime? Because...
sometimes it's nice to watch something without having to read it.
Yeah, and like, sometimes it's nice to see it fleshed out.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong, we love reading.
Yeah.
I have more books than I probably have movies. Just, just because I can.
I'm sitting with a desk. Like, I am not without... I'm not without Sailor Moon stuff.
Yeah.
Sailor V books, like a whole shelf full of Sailor Moon manga.
2 bookcases out in the living room full of books. Like, we love reading, but sometimes you want to experience a story without having to go through all of the nuances of actually reading it. Sometimes you just want to sit down and see somebody that took the pictures out of your head and put them on a screen.
Exactly.
So it is nice to have that option to where it's like, you know what? I feel like reading that story because I want to emotionally take that journey with the characters again.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to see the cool butt-kicking part of the anime.
Yeah. One of the things that used to irk me about liking Sailor Moon is everybody has their favorites. Mine are Jupiter and Saturn, but people sleep on Sailor Mercury because they think, oh, she's just a quiet nerd in the background, she runs the fence. One of the best scenes in the manga was in, I think it would be considered season 2, where she literally has to leap out a window into a pool of water to transform and fight. Because people don't get to see that from her character. And it's like, if they animated that, and they did in Crystal, which I was like, I was waiting all this time for this scene of peeking out, yes! And it's like, I want to see more of that. And there are so many shows that could use a Brotherhood-like reboot.
Right.
Like, I love the Tensei Muyo series.
Oh, yeah.
The original, before they got to, like, by the time they got to Tokyo, I was just not into it. And Brandon, she is one of my favorites, too. Amy was the best well-rounded character. She kept the team together, and she was strategically and tactically smart. And I felt like Crystal was touching upon that. And that's another thing that made me mad, because as the seasons went on, especially in the books, she got stronger. Even when she had moments of doubt, she got stronger with her powers. And I feel like there's a lot of anime that hit that mark in written form. But when they translated over them to manga, to animation, they missed that mark.
Yeah.
Bleach is one of them.
Yeah, Bleach really was a letdown. I still love the series. One of my favorite series.
Until the side.
But I watch it until they get to the final up of the Eisen saga.
Yep,
and then I just cut it off.
Yep.
And I fill in the blanks with my own, like, okay, and this is what I think happened after that, because with that, you kind of have a thing where the creator didn't know where to go, whether they just got tired of doing the show or whether they just didn't want to do it anymore.
A lot
like
of filler.
Ran out of ideas.
A lot of filler.
And it's like, instead of handing it off, like, and that's one thing that Adventure Time did really well. What was the guy's name? I'm blanking.
Pendleton Ward.
Pendleton Ward. Didn't want to do that anymore. Didn't want to run the show anymore. So he handed it off to
Adam Muda,
the writers and stuff, and said, "Here, you guys keep this going. I'm done." He just couldn't handle it. Yeah. I was like, it's better to do that or end the series than to try to drag it on when you have no plan.
Yeah, or when you don't have the passion for it anymore.
Yeah.
And for me, Kubo set up such an elaborate world, and he made such characters that are iconic. But he didn't go the distance with them. And a lot of them fell flat. Some of them were given no purpose at all. And some of them should have died. Like, I would love to rewrite the series the way I felt it should have been done. There were characters that lasted way longer than they should have. Characters that were built up and didn't deliver. Like, Henpachi still... He is my favorite Bleach character. And they did him and Yachiru wrong as far as I'm concerned. And then you have Hanataro, who I feel like would have really shined in a better writer's hands.
Yeah, his character...
His powers, his character, everything about him screamed he could have became bigger.
Yeah, he could have. He was somebody that is kind of like a sleeper. He's like, you wouldn't suspect a threat from him.
Yeah.
But he could have literally messed up any foe that he wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And his power was simple. You know, he could absorb damage from another person, or I'm thinking of himself, couldn't he?
Yeah.
And it stored, and then he could unleash all that damage onto somebody he wanted to.
It was a sick power.
You could screw so many people up with that.
Yeah.
And you're healing your teammates while you're doing it.
Exactly. But they didn't develop him. It was like Kubo's problem was he was really good with drawing cool fight scenes, but he didn't want to get past making Ichigo the star. That's fine. But make his storyline make sense.
Yeah.
And then I stuck it out like an idiot to the end of the story, because I was like, I've been reading the manga this long. Let's stick it out to the end. And I was disappointed by that ending. I disavow it.
I told her to bail. I was just like, You know what? Just bail out. We'll fill in the blanks.
And the worst part is the anime in that saga. It's called The Thousand Years' War. If you don't want to waste your time, don't root for anybody.
No. I am mildly a little bit optimistic about it, because I heard that said they were going to animate it, but they were going to make changes to it.
They need to make a lot of changes.
So this is one of the instances, and I am not a fan of this. This is one of the instances where I hope they go from the source material and give people the ending that people wanted, and they don't stick to the manga and follow it exactly.
Depending on how they broadcast it, I might be up for watching it and then doing reviews of each saga. Because, like I said, I stuck it out through the manga. Through the zombie nonsense they tried to toss in. And just killing off people that didn't make sense. But leaving people who should have died arcs ago in. Right. And then just the end, which I don't really want to spoil for people. But if you had any hopes for Ichigo's future, he becomes a dad. Let's just leave it at that. And it was horrible. I don't like the way he just played with a lot of people's emotion, because a manga lasting over a decade, you emotionally invest in the story.
Mm-hmm.
You emotionally invest in the characters. And I feel like Kubo knew he had a lot of people emotionally invested, and he decided to twist the whole plot knife into us and be like, well, I know I was leading you this way, but I'm going to take you over here.
Yeah.
I know I gave these characters these abilities, but I'm just going to say that didn't happen.
And then, like, not even the end of the series, but some of the filler arc on there where they did the whole Bount thing where it's like, oh, this is where vampires and ghosts and stuff come from. It's like, nobody asked.
Nobody asked for that.
I don't remember anybody asking, well, how do you explain ghosts and other paranormal stuff? I was like, Hollows.
The only filter arc that I liked was the Soul Sword saga.
Yes.
And even that, he messed up with his own manga canon because he said, yeah, each sword created has its own soul, but he didn't even go further into that.
No.
And it's like, you have all of these seeds to make a really rich story and prop up your main character, but you fell to the wayside because you let all the success go to your head. That's the reason why I wish I had gotten into One Piece when it first started. And I've seen an episode here or there, but it is way too long to start that series right now.
That is a lot.
It is a lot to take in.
A lot of binge watching.
A lot of reading, it's not easy. Like, I've started to try to get caught up on One Punch because I've started reading the manga since I liked the first season, and we're about to watch the second season as well. The difference is, One Piece has been going for, I think, almost 20 years now, right?
Yeah, it's been going, God, when did that start?
At least towards the end of the 90s into the 2000s.
Yeah, that's been going, that has been going so long that the creator of the show is like, can I end this?
Yeah.
And like, you're the one writing it.
Yeah.
If you want it to stop,
exactly.
Stop it.
I mean, I get it. When you build a world like that and you love the characters, you want to keep telling the story.
Right.
One of the things that I was talking to Axiom about, because our first sci-fi novel is called Axiom, is I still have a story in my head for some of these characters. That's why we're working on the next book, even though we're waiting for this book to be officially out. But I don't want to become the next George R.R. Martin, where you get people invested, but you don't give them an end. One of the things I get mad about people complaining about Game of Thrones ending is they didn't have a source material to pull that ending from.
Yeah. And
he's
honestly,
still writing the books.
And honestly, with anybody that's reading the books right now, do you really care anymore?
Yeah.
Like, it has gone on so long. He's been dragging the ending of this book out. Do you really care how it ends anymore? The TV series has always ended. He's come out and said, well, it's going to end differently than the TV series. Like, is it? Is it? Or are you just saying that so people will buy the book?
And the reason
people are going to buy the book because they hate having 1, 2, 3, 4, and I didn't grab the last one of the series just because I didn't want to read it. They're going to grab it regardless.
Yep. He knows he's got an instant cash grab when he finally gets it finished, no matter what he does. And the thing is, with something with an IP as popular as that, it's going to be animated at some point. I know it, you know it, we all know it. The series would make more sense animated, honestly.
Yeah. You get a good, even just CGI, and not even CGI, because I don't know which would be better, CGI or actually drawing it. But you get a good animation group together to
do a Rankin Bass treatment.
Yeah, just animate the rest of that out from book 1 to, what is it, 5 books?
5 books, I think.
5 books?
Yeah.
And you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. People aren't going to, like, I imagine there are people out there that like to read, like, the whole Wheel of Time series.
Not me.
Beginning to end. I tried. It's hard. It's good. I don't want to anger all the Wheel of Time fans.
I will turn in my geek card. I'm sorry, y'all. I tried.
It is a good series. The problem is, as there was a guy I used to work with who swore up and down it's a phenomenal series. He loved it, and he's right. I got through book 1, 2, 3, and I think 4.
There's 12.
I know there's 12, but I started to slow down around book 4. I think by the time I got to book 7, I was just like, I can't do it anymore, because he didn't write this in a sense, because there was so much time between each book. He had to do a recap, which I appreciate, because if you waited 5 years between each book, you're going to need a recap. And instead of leaving it to the person that was reading the book to just go back and reread the previous book or go ahead and start the series from over, he recaps the first half of the book. And in each book, that recap gets a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You look exhausted after trying to read that.
Yeah,
she does. She does not. When I tried to get her to read like the first book, I was like, it's really interesting. It's got some interesting premises in there. You'd probably like it. And I think she would. But from book 1 to book 2, you have maybe 20 pages of recap of them recaching the story to tell you what you're getting into. By the time you get to book 7, I was halfway through the book, and I was like, I already know this. I just read the book. I was like, he did not write it for the people that are like, okay, hey, you got almost the whole series done. Let me start reading it now. No, I was like, I legitimately just read this. Why am I reading half of what I already read when you could just provide me new story?
Exactly. And the thing is, my friend brought all 12 books to me when I lived in Florida and wanted me to read the series. She was like, you got to, you'll love it, I promise you. I did not enjoy the first book. I tried. He's just not a writer that speaks to me. And I love fantasy writing. I got through the Lord of the Rings series, all of those books. Can I do it again? Probably not without a lot of motivation, because they're one of those I like to call a once and done arc that if you're in the sci-fi, if you're in the fantasy adventure, it should be one of your staple books. But Wheel of Time is not that for me, and I know that there are a lot of people who it spoke to, and I know that like from Brenda Sanderson's takeover that it probably did pick up. Yeah, he loves Brandon Sanderson's writing.
I have wrecked people's lives by recommending Brandon Sanderson to people, because a buddy of mine that I used to work with was like, I'm going on vacation. I want to read a couple of good books. Do you have any suggestions for me? And I knew what I was doing. I knew it like it was like you had to ask me.
We currently keep one of his books on the thing too.
Yep.
Like,
and I said anything by Brandon Sanderson. I was like, if you really want to start out with a good book, read this one. It was his first novel. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And he went on vacation. He come back. He goes, thanks. And I was like, what? Didn't you like the books? He goes, oh, no. I love the books. I love the books so much that I spent my entire vacation reading every single book he wrote, so I didn't get anything done. I was like, you're welcome.
Exactly. And then I'm a huge fan of R.A. Salvatore, and I'm going to fangirl a little bit right now because I love the Dritz series. I used to play the Baldur's Gate games. I'm going to go back to playing them pretty soon as well. And the thing is, R.A. Salvatore is so down to earth. I didn't realize the man was on Twitter as much as he was. And he paid me a compliment as a writer that, you know, I'm always doubting my abilities. And I know a lot of my friends are like, Tim, you shouldn't be that way. But I'm constantly in my head whether or not I should even put any of my work out there. And to have him say that my way of writing explains stuff to him in ways that makes him think, that was the highest compliment anybody could have.
She gushed for like 2 weeks straight.
For real.
You could not sandblast a smile off her face.
I was just so happy about
We'd be just having a phone call and like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Okay, did you know R.A. Salvatore commented on my Twitter post? And I was like, will you stop already?
It was an epitome for my geekiness, you know? Somebody that I grew up with all of his characters, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons, which I'll be doing tomorrow with my crew. Just loving that whole Forgotten Realms series, the whole Baldur's Gate series, and then meeting Axiom. He's a huge Dritz fan. Like, one of the things I got you were they were like little replicas of Icing
Death and Twinkle.
And I was like, I love that we could talk about that kind of stuff. And now that game, Dark Alliance, I think is coming out.
Dark Alliance is a game that has like you play those 4 characters. We looked into it to see if it was available on Xbox. It is available, but we both have more games than we have time to play right now.
Yeah.
So it's like we're kind of waiting to see if we can't maybe nab it on sale or something so that we can play it together then. And if so, yeah, we're going to lose probably weeks of our lives playing that game.
Yeah. because that was the only thing that had me playing Neverwinter Nights online for a bit. Is because you got to really do quests with these characters. You got to run with Dritz and Catti and Brenner and Wolfgar. And it was fun because you got a feel of what their characters would be like in that setting, but they didn't overtake the whole storyline. You're still the hero, but they were with you.
Right.
And having two archers completely decimate a field full of creatures is fun. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and I started rereading the series because he keeps doing like a trilogy.
Yeah.
Story-wise, he'll write 3 books, and then he'll wait a little bit, and then he'll write 3 more books, and he'll wait a little bit. And I wanted to get caught up on a lot of stuff, so I went out and repurchased all the stuff in paperback. Every week I read 1 book, and then I go over the next 2, and then I read 1 book, and then I go over the next 2. So I reread everything right up until almost current.
Yeah.
And I've got those books waiting to be read, but then the pandemic happened, and now I can't get my brain to shut off to actually read a book right now.
it has been rough. Last year should have been a perfect time for those of us who love losing ourselves in a book. But I think a lot of us was just like, oh my gosh, what's happened into our world? That was kind of harder to get into, even the things we love. And I know a lot of us, I've dug into my introvert. I love that I don't have to be out unless I have to be out. But it was harder for me to enjoy a lot of the stuff that I normally enjoy. I have a stack of comic books I have to get to. We have plenty of things to watch, plenty of books to read. And I know that we're not alone in this. I've talked to plenty of people who are like, I've watched some TV. TV has been like a real godsend for us Gen X. We have lost ourselves to visual stuff.
Yeah.
But for those of us who like reading, and especially me, I love comic books. I've been trying to get back into reading online now. A lot of times I'll pull up manga, especially on web servers and stuff, and there's a couple of them that you pay fees for them, but there's a lot of free ones out there too that'll let you read stories and enjoy the comics that you're buying. Hopefully you're buying. Support these artists, y'all, especially after this pandemic. A lot of them might be out of work because people are pirating their stuff, and if you can afford to get it so that we can get more of it. I have my fingers crossed that Love is Hard for an Otaku gets another season, because I love those characters, and I am hoping that Homegirl finishes up the story, because the main characters still aren't together yet, and I've been waiting for that. I've been very patient, and I'm afraid that so many of these people have been hit with the pandemic that we're going to see a lot of good stories just fall to the wayside. And the way we can make sure that these companies know, hey, we want to see a finish to this, is to support these things. Buy them if you can, And I understand that there are some people that don't have the money. Trust me, I'm squad captain of Team Broadcast most months,
right,
especially after the bills are paid. So I understand the need for the free resources. What you need to do if you're taking advantage of that free resource is making sure that when you have a little bit extra, you support the sites, and you make sure that you amplify places where people can buy the actual product. We can help in ways. You don't have to be I just want all for me, and I don't have to help these artists. Oh, they make a lot of money, because a lot of them don't.
No.
I can tell you, as somebody who worked in the game industry, it is a thankless job. People think that you're just living off champagne. A forum post that made me laugh had the people talking about how the developers are just effing models and living high while off our money. They don't see your subscription money. You need to understand that the money is allotted in ways to buy software development, to product test, to promote if you're lucky. A lot of the people who are hunkered down in those cubicles, making sure that stuff works and that these things go out as less buggy, do not get paid a lot of money. And they do it because they love doing it. And then they go to the forums to see you shitting on them and talking about how rich they are. That's not how that works.
Right.
You know? And I try to tell people, because I do not have those ties to game companies anymore. And I appreciate those who still try to reach out to me to do promotions and stuff for you. That's not my life anymore. I didn't like it, so I stopped. But you got to understand that just because you pay a subscription to something does not mean that money directly goes to who you think it goes to. And it's really hurtful when you see developers who actually talk to people, who get on and do streams, who try to explain things, get hounded by people who have no idea how any of this works because you think you know. It's like being a part of geek culture is fun, but a lot of people make it unfun. You become that stereotype of us that we don't need. You think you know everything there is about how stuff works, and you don't. Like we were talking earlier about this horrible, was it Reddit or was it just a forum post where somebody tried to call Stan Lee of all people a bigot.
I think it was a Reddit, but I'm not sure. It might have just been a forum post.
And I know that people need to take Reddit with a grain of salt. One of my favorite pastimes some mornings is to just go on Am I the Asshole Twitter, because they take some of the weirdest, or like I say, best Reddit posts, and they put it out for people to ask, are they the asshole? And most of the time, yeah, you are.
Yeah, if you have to ask the question,
yeah, you are.
You're probably, you're the jerk.
But to have these younger generations try to say men like Stan Lee were bigots and have that narrative running when X-Men was his allegory for black people. X-Men saved a lot of people's life. When I was going through what I was going through in New York, it was comic books and turning to comic book stories that helped me see I can't let these people win. They might hate me for my existence, but that's them. That's not me. I can't let them take what I know is special about me away because of their twistedness. That's the man Stan Lee was. And I don't care if you have issue with how he ran Marvel sometimes and his business practices. Business people are ruthless. But if you're going to equate his character development to bigotry without understanding that he did more for people of color, for LGBT with his books, than most people do now with these weird, blatantly stereotypical looks at us, yeah, come on. I just feel like geek culture, especially, we're in a good place now because we can be open about our geekiness, but some people take it too far. They're trying to cross back and forth between I'm a geek but I'm socially aware, and they step on people's toes, and they want to call out people for things that were okay years ago without any context. And if anybody developed a sense of what was right and how to write characters that we still talk about them today, it was definitely Stan Lee. And I'm not going to let people crap on his memory or call him out of his face without calling him out. And I am so glad that there are enough of us out there who are black geeks especially that are like, that ain't it. You know, we grew up with this man. He saw us in his writing. He went through stuff himself. And he said it, not just in the way he wrote the characters, but if you read the bullpen, like a lot of us who would get to the back of the comics, he was very passionate about speaking up on issues. So it just drives me nuts that you have all of these people who want to act like they woke, they're very performative when it comes to that, spreading these lies. That ain't it. You want to be a geek, that's fine. We're open tent for geekiness. There's no one way to be geeky. But if you're going to spread lies about people who have done the deed for, just making comic books more diverse, you're going to have issues with old guard like us. Because we've been around long enough to call out bullshit. We're not afraid. I'm not here for clout. He's not here for clout. And we're just seeing so many people come out their face saying whole ass wrong things about stuff we all love. We want these chats to be loose and fun, but we're gonna call you out if we see you writing hit pieces that don't make sense, putting stuff out there, lying about people who were really instrumental in helping open the door for black writers to get into Marvel, which a lot of people don't understand that about Stan Lee, and to get in LGBT characters. You know, it bothers me that so many people think that he was anti because he didn't want characters that were already established being rewritten, when his whole stance was, we need characters that are already this, so that people don't say, oh, you're just retconning to seem or make a scene of stuff. You know, I bet there are people that don't even realize that Marvel already had very openly LGBT characters. Why? Because they don't prop those characters up. North Star was one of my favorite X Factors, and I really hope that we get a writer that brings X Factor in to the Marvel Universe. Canada is our neighbor. They've had their own superhero team since I was a little girl. And I think written in the right hands, we could have an exactly, Brandon, Mystique and Destiny. And that needs to be I want the X-Men in the MCU so badly. And I want them done by a writer who does not take away from them. Exactly, Brandon. There was a lot of characters in the X-Men that had so many. If you read it, you knew. But there were a lot of people who they don't know. And they want to speak for us on things instead of going to the source material because it's right there. But people, you know, that's why I said I am hopeful now that Disney is going to own everything. They're buying up everything, that we are going to get more. But I'm also fearful, especially in the taking it back to animation, people wanting to just cash grab. One of the things I've had with Cartoon Network is they shit on their long-term shows. One of our favorite shows was Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
We were looking forward to season 8. They had season 8 scripts all written and ready to go. What they didn't have was a contract. And then Cartoon Network, for their longest running TV show, unceremoniously just drops them.
Yeah.
Just, okay, we're done. You don't have to worry. We're canceling you. They left season 7 on a cliffhanger. They left all seeds that things were finally going to start to be explained and make sense about Doc Venture, about the boys, about everything we were watching and loving. And then Cartoon Network was like, well, you know, we can make more money making another Teen Titans Go movie.
And that's pretty much all Cartoon Network is right now. It's Teen Titans Go and any of those, like...
weird clones of that.
Yeah, and it's like... When Cartoon Network first aired, it was all cartoons.
Yeah.
There was no live action. I should not be able to tune into a network that says Cartoon Network and see live people. There shouldn't be a block on that show that doesn't have some form of animation on it. Even if it's got to be like old reruns. But your Cartoon Network, you should be paving the way for more people to have their shows done.
Yep.
When they did Adventure Time and Steven Universe, great. Go find more people like that. Go find more shows like that. Don't sit there and do this weird... What's that weird reality show that they have on there that's...
They had a bunch of them. Eric Andre.
Total Drama Island.
Well, that was animated too.
Yeah, so it was animated, but it was like... It's a reality show that's animated. It's not really a reality show.
Yeah.
I was like...
That's fine. I like the first and I think second
fair,
Total Drama.
I haven't watched Total Drama Island, so if it's a good show,
I watched both the first and second. I think they needed to stop after that. Right. That's just my opinion. But that was at least animated. My thing is we had the best sweet spot for Cartoon Network was the What a Cartoon phase.
Yeah.
Because you got all of these new animators vying for us to like their stuff. It developed Family Guy. It developed Frisky Dingo, which created the Archer series. Yep. We got Dexter's Lab. We got Ed, Ed and Eddie. We got so many iconic cartoons.
Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
You just got all these cool shows that like all they needed was, hey, I want to just give you a taste of what I've got.
Yeah.
I was like, I watched the, like, what you could consider it the pilot for Family Guy.
Yeah.
It was a old guy and his dog that could talk. And it's literally Peter and Brian.
Yep.
That's like, find it. Go find it on YouTube. You can see where he started the show and what it turned into.
Yep.
And that's what Cartoon Network could be for its creators, but it doesn't. It gets shows from people, and then it craps all over them.
It sucks them dry. Adventure Time is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
We loved Adventure Time. I dressed my son up as Finn one year for Halloween because we just loved it. We were a big Adventure Time household.
I wasn't anywhere near it. I would have fought him for it.
Yeah. But the thing was, eventually, even though the series was still fairly popular, they stopped airing it at a set time. Mm-hmm. Then you were lucky if you heard it was airing at all. Then all of a sudden, they was like, oh, we're getting ready to end it. Here's the final saga. And it was like, I missed a lot of this. What happened?
Yeah, and that's the thing that irritated me. I watched Adventure Time. I bought every season as it came out. Bought it on Blu-ray. Waited for it to come out. And I happened to be working at a place where I was actually putting TV series and movies out every week.
Yeah.
So I would put it out, shift would be over, go back in, grab it, head home and watch it. And then like the last 2 seasons of it, they just didn't put on Blu-ray. It's like you put it on DVD, but you didn't put it on Blu-ray. It's like, why are you... Like you're actively trying to get your network canceled.
Yeah.
Is what they're trying to do. And it's like, I don't understand why you would, if you don't want to run the company, give it to somebody that does care about the shows.
I feel like the person who ran the company best before they went into that weird seeing real stuff was the guy that had to step down after the whole Moon and Knights thing.
Yeah.
Because he was like, we need to get new animators in here. We need to support them. We need to bring back the whole idea of the What a Cartoon phase where we get new creators animating and showcasing themselves. And because of that whole stunt, he stepped down. They got that lady that's currently running stuff. And she had to be strong on him. I will give Dan Harmon props about this, even though he's admitted to being a creep at times. He said, I am not going to put this show out, Rick and Morty, until I get a contract. And he got his contract. Yeah. And now we're getting more Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
We need to stand by animators. It is a lot of work. I've been trying to learn step-by-step animation. It is not an easy job. For some people it might be, but it is not easy to get the drawings the way you want, to get the characters lined up, to get the voices connected to everything. It is a lot of work, and it is a labor of love when you are able to put your story out like that. And he does a lot of work. And to have Cartoon Network be like, well, you're a cash cow, but, we don't want to give you a set contract. How is he supposed to pay the people to help him keep his story going?
They were going to do to him exactly what they did to Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
Because if you guys remember, there was a gap between season 2 and 3 that lasted like a while. And he even started making fun of it.
Yeah.
I was like, who knows? Maybe next time you see me, I'll have a big old beard and I won't be able to remember who my family is and stuff like that because of how long the gaps were.
Yep.
But when you see parallels, it's like, hey, I seen what they've done to Venture Brothers or Metalocalypse, where they've just gone and just
Metalocalypse,
you're done. That's it. They string you along while you're making the money, and then the second you start not to be as profitable as what you are, we're going to cut you off.
Yeah.
No, he did exactly what he should have done. He goes, no, I know I'm in good. People want to see Rick and Morty. People counting on you to bring them Rick and Morty.
People are fighting in McDonald's over Rick and Morty shit.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm in a good bargaining position. I am going to take and make you do what's best for my show. And the fact that he had to fight to get that done,
yeah,
that is not a good example. That is not a good business. That lady's going to find herself out of a job because she ran that network right into the ground.
I'm telling you, and as somebody who's a huge fan of Steven Universe, the way they did not support Rebecca Sugar pisses me off because she had a lot more story and she had to condense it down for future, but they wouldn't stand up for her in other countries that wanted to ban her characters for same sex. And it's like, it doesn't matter. We are not in the day and age where people shouldn't be able to see 2 females in love, 2 males in love, a non-binary character with another non-binary, or a character that identifies as a male or a female. We are not in a day and age where people should be getting the vapors about this. And the core story for Steven Universe is beautiful. And it has a bit of everything. It had ain't shit parents, which I know a few of us can relate to. It had a young person trying to figure out who he was. It had both what some people would call LGBT love. It had straight love. It had all different kinds of tone and good music. And Cartoon Network had the ability to keep this series going, and they didn't stand by her. So Rebecca did what I feel was the best thing she could. She wrapped up her series the way she wanted to, on the note she wanted to. But it bothers me that they took a series that really touched. My kid grew up with that series because he was a little boy when Steven Universe started. We watched it from the first pilot to the final episode of Future. And it just touched us because we had been watching it for so long, and it was just so well done. But she could have did more if they had stood by her. And the problem is they just want to mass produce series that can maybe sell merchandise, but has no heart. And that might have worked in the 80s, and it did. It still works in some parts of Japan. I've watched TV Japan.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like they want to do shows like Teen Titans Go, where it's like, okay, that episode's over now. Everybody's going to be back to normal. Don't have to worry about continuity or canon or anything like that. All of this is going to be one funny story after another funny story.
Yeah.
It's like kids like continuity. I can follow. Growing up, I could follow continuity in a story, and I looked forward to it.
I think that's why Thundercats was so successful.
Yeah.
It had a story plot that you wanted to see. You wanted to see Lionel get stronger. Yeah. You wanted to see him fully unlock the Sword of Omens. One of the things that I liked about it versus Silverhawks was the story made sense.
Yeah.
You know, there was some twisted turns at points with Filter that didn't. But if you followed the core story of Thundercats, it had one.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of 80s stories couldn't say that. A lot of animes still couldn't say that.
But even the story, even like the series that like Thundercats definitely had a set story that they were probably making it up as they went. But even if you didn't use Thundercat, let's say you used Transformers, and that was just based off them trying to sell toys.
They just wanted to sell toys.
They had a toy line that they needed to push, so what did they do? They created an animated show for it.
Yep.
Even that had a better story than some of the stuff that people are getting spoon-fed right now.
Yeah. And when you get shows that have a decent story, but Cartoon Network gets their hands on it. Regular Show was another one. I did not think I was going to get into Regular Show. My son was more into it at first, and I sat and started watching it with him, and it was a well-done series.
Mm-hmm.
And they need more creators like that can take that nonsensical style characters, but weave in a story so well that you don't realize you're watching an actual story unfold as you're watching it. They're going to have to do that. Same with Gumball. I ended up loving The Amazing World of Gumball, but he got to the point where he wanted to end the series like 2 seasons ago, and Cartoon Network was like, oh no, you're a cash grab. Yeah. We're going to milk it. Yeah. Same with the Boondocks.
But it's the same thing. It's become one of those shows where it's like, okay, new week, new episode, nothing from last week matters. It's becoming a non-continuity show.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get that. That is fun. That is entertaining to watch. It is nice to know that every week when you come back, everything's going to be back to normal no matter what craziness happened the week before. But not every show needs that.
Yeah.
Especially animated shows. That's what you want to teach kids nowadays with their cartoons.
That nothing matters.
Doesn't matter what you do, everything's going to go back to normal. That is not going to generate.
That's not how life works.
That is not going to go well.
And my thing is, they need to respect that we need more diversity. Just like I say, Hollywood needs more diversity because they've been canceling a lot of shows that had diversity. Lovecraft Country, anybody? I can't believe they're not going to have a season 2. My timeline was full of people talking about the show, discussing different theories and stuff they had brewing for it. And now all of a sudden HBO's like, well, you had a good run, you've got fans, but we don't want to continue it. And we're seeing that there's still such a void in diversity when it comes to both TV and animation that they got to stop, because there are places like Twitch There are places like YouTube where a lot of creators are going with our ideas, with our abilities, and we're going to just make our way using our own, initiative.
And you may lose people. Like, if you put out an idea, I was like, hey, we're going to change this and have this character. Example, I'm a horrible example of that one. When they said they were going to replace Ultimate Spider-Man with somebody, and I think it was Miles Morales, I was against it. I was like, you can't replace Peter Parker with some kid. I was like, but I didn't look into it any more than that. I heard what they were going to do, and I instantly rallied against it. Now, actually, after letting them do what they wanted to do and actually reading it and keeping an open mind, saying, hey, you know what? Peter Parker is always going to be Spider-Man, but he's not always going to be the only Spider-Man. I love Miles Morales.
And
that Into the Spider-Verse movie, so good.
And that's for those of you that want to say anything about Captain Marvel being a young Muslim girl. You need to read the canon. Stop being so judgmental. You're just so used to entertainment centering and catering people that look like you that any kind of variation makes you anxious. But how do you think it feels for those of us who never got to see ourselves shine, never got to be the stars of a novel or series? We finally see writers saying, okay, we know that this IP is popular. We just want to show you how it would work this way.
Yeah.
We're not taking from the original character. We are showing you how this character would live. Miles Morales' life was like a lot of young black kids in New York. That duality of having family that were on the side of the law and having family that weren't. Being a smart kid, but feeling like a fish out of water. So much of his character spoke to me. And I was like, we need more of this. And like I was telling Greg about the whole Black Panther saga. Because we know, rest in peace Chadwick Boseman, that it is I can't see how they could fill his shoes. They would need a damn good actor to fill that role.
Yeah.
But they already have a character that could step up, and they have plot lines that they could foster that shows how strong Shuri is. And just all the stuff that she would have going against her is just what it means to be a black woman. We're constantly having to prove ourselves.
Love Shuri.
Exactly. She was my favorite in that movie. But having to prove ourselves, having to show that our strength comes from our brains, having people doubt our abilities to lead. Sound familiar? Our VP's going through that right now. Having all that negativity and still rising above. And I swear, if they did a Black Panther Rise of the Queen, I would risk sitting in the movie theater to see it. And I don't make that lightly because I don't want to be around people. You can ask him. I don't want to be around people. Yeah. Our movie theater's fixing to open again. I don't want to be around people.
It was actually pretty funny. We went to go hit Pokestops, and one of the Pokestops that we can easily get to is in the theater parking lot, and they're still shut down. So we pulled up, and we're just sitting there hitting Pokestop. Just spin the stop, wait for it to recharge, spin the stop, wait for it to recharge, spin the stop, because we were just like, what do you want to do for lunch? You know, just shooting the breeze, trying to figure stuff out. And people are so... what would you say, looking forward to getting back to theaters, that like 5 cars just came up and started like, look at, are they open?
Yeah.
What's going on in there? Why are they sitting there? Why are they doing that? And I looked at Ted and I was like, we should just come back here every day and see how many cars we can get to stop by just by sitting in this parking spot and seeing who comes in, because there was one car that was getting really creepy with it. Like, one guy pulled up and he kind of sat there, and then once he realized no one's getting out of that car, he took off. This other car just kept circling.
It was hilarious.
He wasn't circling our car. He was circling like the parking lot line like 3 spaces over, and he just kept like, what's going on? What's going on? And he'd go this way, then he'd slowly come back, and he'd go this way. And I was just sitting there watching him. I was just like, if it wasn't so hot, I'd shut the car off and watch this fool. This is getting crazy.
It was entertainment.
And nobody came up and was like, hey, are they open? Why are you guys sitting here? Because I would have just held up my phone. They were catching Pokemon, dude.
Yeah, it's a Pokestop.
Yeah, it's like, we're just, spin the stop, get the balls, go catch them on, But, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I would seriously, if you do a Black Panther Rise of the Queen and do Shuri right, because she deserves that mantle. I think Letitia Wright is a good act. She's a great actress, and I think she can carry the role beyond what people think.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to think that superheroes are just power based. Some of our favorite superheroes, especially Spider-Man, is wit space.
Yeah.
And Shuri is one of the smartest characters in the Marvel Universe, and especially in the MCU. Put her brains against some of them brawn, she's gonna come out on top.
Yeah.
And then give her the ability to have the powers of the Black Panther on top of that, she is gonna be a phenom. But you gotta have the writers who see women as viable leaders. And you've got to have a writer who understands that there are always going to be people who try to knock her down, who don't understand that, yes, she is capable, but she's a woman. And we have to have it where if Shuri wants to have a relationship with one of the Dora Milaje, that's okay too, because that's comic book canon. And I know some people in our community don't ascribe to that. Y'all need to get over yourselves. We need to stop being such bigots when it comes to stuff like that. Okay? Because there is nothing wrong with it. And I feel like in the right hand, Shuri can be not only the superhero that we all need to fill the hole that Chadwick Boseman's passing put there, but to open our eyes that we need to stop being so bigoted and so prejudiced against stuff that we may not understand. Because that's an excuse. We understand it. We just don't want to accept it. And we got to get over that. I realized that as a kid, I learned a lot of stuff that was intolerant. And it's unacceptable. It's an unlearning process. And this world is big enough for all of us. And just because you don't want to be into something doesn't mean other people don't have a right to see themselves. That's the whole thing about entertainment. We should have it where people can see themselves. I really hope that in the future we are having these Gen X Cynics talk where we're talking about characters that, hey, I don't have a lot in common, but I love this character. Because that's what being a geek is about. It's about being pulled into the fantasy. It's about understanding that this character is fun to enjoy. You know? It's about changing your mind.
Yeah. And like I said, if I'd have stuck to my guns, and this was years ago, back when the Ultimate Universe was still a thing. I don't think it is. I think they blew it up.
Yeah.
But if I'd have stuck to that just because I didn't like the fact that they were going to kill that Peter Parker, and to be fair, I love how they killed that Peter Parker. I don't like that they did it. I like how they did it.
Yeah.
And if I'd have stuck to my guns and just never read that beginning part with Miles Morales, I love that character.
Yeah.
I think Miles is a great person to pick up that mantle that Peter carries and take it places Peter can't go because Peter can't be that kind of person.
Exactly. He can't have that experience.
Yeah, he grew up in such a way that there's a certain aspect he can understand. But as much as you can understand something, you don't know it until you've actually lived it.
Exactly.
And Miles can do that in such a better way that Peter can. And even in the games, they actually have him being like a mentor to Miles. I was like, that's the perfect situation for Peter.
Yeah.
But Miles is always his own Spider-Man.
Yes.
And that is something that if you hold on to things like that, like, well, I don't like this, so I'm just not going to read it, give it a chance. What does it hurt you to listen to a story that may change your point of view and make you grow? You're against personal growth?
Mm-hmm.
That's dumb. I was like, and I got to enjoy Into the Spider-Verse. I get to enjoy anything that Miles Morales comes into. They had a crossover where it was Spider-Men, and it was the normal 616 universe Spider-Man getting to meet Miles Morales, and he got to see the Peter Parker that he never got to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
And just because I got off my high horse and was like, no Peter Parker, no Spider-Man, I got to enjoy a better story, and I got to change myself.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I just want people to understand. I get gatekeeping happens.
I was hoping you'd look the other way. It was going to be funny in my head. But
Yeah, I get gatekeeping happens. Like I said, I'm part of a lot of geek culture things, especially D&D, and some of you are going to get read in the future cast as well. I just think that people need to be more open-minded because they're so used to being the center of stories and attention that it shakes you to your core whenever there's a difference. And it's not different for those of us who are geeky and of those non-represented characters. We're tired of just being the side characters of the story. We're tired of being the ones that get killed off easily. We want to be centered in a story as well. And there are plenty of characters that are in shows and in movies that should have their own thing. I like what the Star Trek series is starting to do as well. I need to watch the newest season of it because, you know, I like Homegirl. I loved her in The Walking Dead. She was one of the only characters of The Walking Dead that I literally cried when she was killed off.
Yeah.
Because I loved the way they did that with her. She was.
I was just about to say, I love how they did that. Yeah. I did not want to see that character go, but I love how the character saw this is going to happen one way or another. I might as well try to use it to my advantage.
Yep. On her terms.
Yep.
And I really hope that, you know, as a writer myself, that I can do my part to make our entertainment and stories more diverse. But it really takes all of us. If you have an idea, even if you don't think people will want to listen, write it for yourself. Especially if you're marginalized. Because so many of us, we get discouraged. And there are so many more mediums out there to share our work than when we were younger. I may never go through a traditional publishing house. I don't know if that's true, though. My editor says we're definitely going to a traditional publishing house.
I trust your editor.
Yeah. But I think that for people who don't have that connection right now, your best bet is to write out your idea, to draw, stop it, Axiom, to do what you have in your head and put it out there. You have the mediums. You have Twitch. You have YouTube. You have social media. There are ways to share your ideas. We need you. I used to just sit and complain about the lack of diversity, and then I decided to do something about it. Whether I'm a success or not, I don't know. But I'm not going to stop trying. I'm not going to stop putting out characters that I believe in. And if you're watching this cast and you have an idea, just put it out there. You never know what might take off. So,
and if anybody from Marvel sees this, I loved Shuri 5 seconds after seeing her on camera.
Yes.
The fact that you guys didn't do more with her within the movies was very disappointing to me. So it's not just, well, we got to find the right audience or whatever excuse you're going to come up with for it.
You have the right audience.
You have the right audience. You have lightning in a bottle. Do not throw the bottle out. Use it.
Exactly, because she is a brilliant character. So many little girls could, you know, really look up to her. And there is a hole right now. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. Chadwick Boseman was just perfect for the role of T'Challa. Mm-hmm. I felt him when he smiled, his anger, his anguish. He gave himself to a role. And it was hard rewatching Black Panther because we did a whole Marvel marathon. We wanted to watch the movies in as best order as we could. And just rewatching him and seeing how he just gave himself to that role. It would be hard somebody trying to fill that void for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they couldn't find a young actor that couldn't come close, but I don't think it's going to have the same magic. They already have a cast of characters that could bring so much life to Wakanda again. I just hope that whoever they have working on the second movie sees the potential and works with it, because there is just so much hope that it can inspire. We got to shut down all the myths that you can't have a mostly black superhero movie. The heck we couldn't. And not only that, the female stole the show for many of us. Shuri, Angela Bassett as the queen, Homegirl as his love interest, who was a spy, who could speak all those languages. She spoke Korean so fluently that it was beautiful. Okay? So don't give me that we can't have diversity or we can't have all this cast or all that cast. There is so much on the horizon that Marvel can get right in the right writer's hands. And I'm just looking forward to it.
And they just have to have the will to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, if they don't, it's because they decide to kowtow and be like, we don't want to take a chance. That's not how you grow. That's not how you live. You don't not take chances.
Exactly. And with all these things being rebooted and rebranded and brought back, we just need more diversity, y'all. It's not going to hurt you to open and expand your horizons. It's not going to hurt you to think about characters that you might not completely understand or identify as, but you could see parts of yourself in. Every character has that. I just think that there are way too many people that are just so set in nothing changing. You want that traditional, that you're fighting for stagnation at this point. And entertainment is a constantly shifting medium. I watch more streaming stuff now than I watch regular TV. And it's because there is a wealth of talent on this app. On Twitch alone, there are people who craft, there are people who sing, there are music, there are animation shows. There are just people like us who talk our passions.
Yeah. So there are people out there that have such a way with how they just play a video game and they read the dialogue to you. That pulls you in. Our friend True was a perfect one example of that. I started watching him when he was playing Wind Waker.
Yeah.
For Legend of Zelda. And he had such a way of narrating the story, I felt like I was pulled into a whole new game.
And then he makes you laugh.
Yeah. And then he makes you cry because we just saw his Nuzlocke last week.
Yeah, that was hard. R.I.P. to True's team right now. They got decimated last night.
It was a hard couple of hits, and Nuzlocks are not nice.
They are not, and that's why I won't do them, because I get too attached to my Pokemon. No, I'm not doing it. Maybe if we get to... Maybe that'll be like... Because some people want to do like 24-hour streams where they hit certain milestones.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be up for 24 hours. I'm an old lady. I need my sleep. But maybe once we start hitting certain follower thresholds...
I'll be up for 24 hours, but I'm not going to apologize for what content's created.
Yeah, I'm not staying up that late. That ain't happening. Maybe I'll do a Nuzlocke if we hit like 500 followers.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Because you'll get to see me rage quit. Because if my favorite dies, I am going to riot. That's just how I am. I'm a very passionate gamer. But it is 6 o'clock, y'all. I want to thank you for sitting there. Thank you so much, Brandon. I really love you. Yes, 6:02. We're going to get ready to wrap this up, make dinner before the teenager busts the door down. Because I could hear him pacing. Thank goodness the mic didn't pick it up. But we will be back next week with a whole nother geeky topic.
Next week, my stream.
Yes, next week on Axiom's channel. We will have a whole nother topic, and we will be back with more videos, more commentary. Thank you so much for tuning in, and this will be uploaded to YouTube later on.
Do a Wakanda salute sign off?
Wait, what kind? Like this?
Yeah, do.
Yeah.
That's how we sign off.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.